Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. I am your humble host, Mr. David Knoll, also known as Hawkeye Two Feathers. And I greet you with the love and the honor of the infinite creator. And I continue to pray each and every day that each and every one of you, your friends, your family, all of your relatives, and all of your relations will continue to receive and accept the healings, the blessings, and the knowledge from the universe. Now, with that said, greetings, everyone. This is a Sunday evening, a rainy night in Georgia. Hurricane Cristobal has dumped about 3 inches, maybe a little more in some areas around here. It's been raining for 24 hours, but just steady. We've had a couple of periods when the rains come down a little hard, but actually, we needed the rain. And I've been monitoring the river, and the river is flash flooding. It went from about 3.25 feet to it's pushing 7 feet, 6 feet, excuse me, in just the last few hours. So anyway, South Georgia. But this discussion, when I was checking through stuff, I try not to like hawk the news all the time, like, oh, what's going on here? But then I heard, that the governor of Virginia did this thing and a statue was removed, and I was like, wonder what he's up to. So when I found out it was Robert E. Lee, I was like, what? Because he may very well be my great, 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 great grandfather. Seriously, because I was adopted. My parents never married. So my father's name is Cicero Lee, lives in Dayton, Ohio, if he hasn't passed away, and I don't know about it. But so my last name would have been Lee had they married. Okay. So I did some background checking along with the family. And it's very high. It's more likely than not that there is a descendancy and that I could be a descendant of Robert E. Now it's interesting. I've talked about this a little bit before in some videos many moons ago, years ago even. And that I like mapping, which is what Lee did before he became a general and all that. He was a surveyor. He went out west. He was all over the place. When I found out my last name was Lee, I started doing some checking. My daughter started doing some checking. She had in her possession for a while the one of the original copies of the biography of Robert E. Lee. It was sort of autobiography, biography, but anyway, it's one of the complete histories. And that the Lee family goes all the way back into times of the Round Table, where actually of French descent, if that tradition goes back. So, but anyway, so with that, I thought to myself, the people in Virginia, shame on you. Because if anybody knew anything about Robert E. Lee, it was not about slavery, okay? And if that's the situation, then if people did a little bit more research, they would know that R.E. Lee married, guess who? George Washington's granddaughter. And his wife, George Washington's granddaughter, they were her slaves when they got married because Mount Vernon and everything across the Potomac, right? And before the war started, Virginia, the state where Lee resided, and the South decided to secede. Now, there are people who want to say, well, that's treasonous. Well, I'm sorry. That's supposed to be the states' rights. And that's what Lee was all about, states' rights. Not about the right of having or not having slaves, because the North still had slaves at that time. The people don't do their history. So in one of the things that I was, before I got my panties in a bunch about this, kind of sort of literally, is that, he stood for states' rights. He stood for so much more. And why, with a population density in Virginia, it's 5-to-1 white folk to one, so it's hang on. So 30% is going to we got to make that 30% happy in some way, shape, or form by taking down a statue of not just a Civil War general, but someone who fought for the state of Virginia. Everywhere he went, he said, I will stand and fight for my Virginia, because he felt that strong about states' rights. So they tore down an icon for states' rights, not about slavery, because he wasn't necessarily a slave owner, because he was a soldier and a surveyor and a mapper. And when it came time for the war, Lincoln called him across the river, literally across the river, and said, hey, you know, I want you to lead our army. And Lee said, no, I can't. I must stay and fight for my Virginia. So it was never about slavery. Now, there were those, the states' rights, what they wanted was that no grand government should control a state. Now, we have that sort of issue right now, right? It's still going on. You know, Texas wants to secede. California wants to break off. Well, because if certain mandates are being put on certain, you know, some states that they don't agree with, so they tore an icon, they took an icon down for states' rights. What? Not about slavery, folks. So, but these folks ain't done their homework. And the people of Virginia should be mortified. I am mortified for him, because he came back across the river and didn't take the job of general for the North to stand with his Virginia. Whatever the decision was, that they're, you know, the government, the governor, you know, all of that, because they agreed. It was not R.E. Lee's choice to be in the war. It was the state and those states, the Confederate states. So from that standpoint, he said, I'm going to stick with Virginia. Now, the people of Virginia, you should go back to your governor and go, shame on you. Because it has nothing to do with Black Lives Matter or anything like that. It doesn't. But to tear down or remove, to try to placate less than 1/5 of the population of the, you know, Virginia. And there, I'm sure there are some black people are going, what are you doing that for? That's just stupid. But that political gesture, in my opinion, shows just how much these folks are dumbass. I'm sorry. But there are a lot of other ways and a lot of other things you could do to celebrate. Listen, we're going to tear down our history because the South lost. A lot of these big plantations and stuff down here are still owned by big northern corporations. Some of these big Pebble Hill Plantation, there's a bunch of these plantations around here, thousands of acres, right? That the carpetbaggers came down after the war and took over the properties because they were either dead or their wives, and they basically took them over, and they still own the Northerners do, still own large chunks of the South. And you go, wait a minute, you know, they may own property here, but they ain't Southerners. I'm just telling you. But so the idea that this governor of Virginia, I wonder if he was even born in Virginia and if he'd ever done a little bit of history, because to do this insane, moronic act of taking General Lee and the horse and the thingy, all of the men from the South respected him. Even the North respected him. When he signed the agreement at the end, as part of the deal, he was allowed, all of their men were allowed to keep their muskets and their swords because they honored Robert E. so much. The North. But it wasn't his decision to stop the war. It was the decision of the states. So when the North conquered the South, okay, and took it over, and in a lot of ways, they still were running things down here. You know, there's a lot of Northern money that still owns huge tracts of land. I mean, you know, 4,000 acres down here It's a chunk of change. And there are several plantations that are 2, 3, 4,000 acres. Huge 3, 4-story mansions that are literally one of the mansions around down here in South Georgia is where they filmed the staircase scene of Gone with the Wind, for example. And so there's a bunch of stuff down here that people just don't know about. And just out on the edge of Thomasville city limits is an underground bunker, 39,000 square feet underground. Yeah, try to get in. Yeah, right. But it was established back during at least World War II. So, but anyway, it is reported that on 9/11, when George W. Bush's plane disappeared, they didn't quite know where he was. He landed and was put in the bunker in Thomasville. Just thought y'all might throw that little tidbit information in there, because Thomasville has a runway that, guess what, can accommodate the presidential plane. We all wondered why this long airstrip was necessary. And they, well, we're going to need it in the future and whatever. But nobody took into account that there's a 37,000 square foot underground base on the edge of Thomasville. Anyway, those of us around here, well, we know it, and we don't know what they do there, but it's there. So, and it's listed too as one of the, things. You can check it on the internet and it'll show you right where it is. And, there's a tunnel going in, and anyway. But this idea, though, that he's placating the Black Lives Matter or this thing that's going on, it's just an excuse to get rid of stuff and to try to change history. When, if anything, we should say, yeah, the guy lost. But he decided to stick with his family, with Virginia, with whatever they decided, even though he might not have morally felt that way. As a states' rights person, he felt he needed to stay with Virginia. And Virginia, for, oh my God, he's rolling in his grave kind of sort of thing. I just don't believe that this is a good idea. We should educate people. Now, there are some sons of bitches that mistreated blacks, but there were a lot. Think that Sherman burned his way to the ocean, right? But nobody criticizes Sherman. They were like, burn out them lousy Southerners. Oh, and he's like, well, Sherman, he burned his way to, to the ocean. What? And it wasn't about, freeing the slaves or anything like that. No, it was in retribution because the Southerners needed to pay. And Sherman just said, I'm going to, and did. Now, there's certain parts of Georgia. I've been through Middle Georgia a lot. I've done puppet shows and storytelling in some of these towns. So I've been in some of these towns and have gone through and looked at their history and old pictures and stuff like that. But the thing is that it's a shame, but Sherman was a good guy, right? So what if, for example, Custer, his last stand, had massacred all the Indians instead of the other way around? Now, Custer was an idiot for what he did, but beside the point. Oh, Custer, he got killed by the Indians because he was a dumbass. Sorry. He was he was greedy, wanted the thing, and so, but the South, the Northerners did that to the South. A lot of places down here where, the local history is like, well, these plantations were owned by these people, and all of a sudden Northerners owned them. This chunk of land that I'm sitting on was 1828 or something that goes back, because they have to do a title search, right, for every piece of property and every owner that had it, or blah blah blah. So that's what a title search is when you buy a piece of property. So I was sort of amazed that there was this piece of property I'm sitting on was part of the Allagood farm, which was like a parsec. It was a big chunk of Colquitt County back in the day. But anyway, how much it's subdivided now, there are several hundred people that are living probably on that same chunk of land that was just owned by one family to farm and whatever. Anyway, But when the Northerners came in, because the Southerners were so poor, the railroad traffic had been, shut off. That this has been shut off. All the plants, all the cotton fields, and everything had been burned. I mean, and so these folks were literally living on possums and raccoons, and deer. And the fact that the Southerners made it at all after the war, black and white, because there are a lot of families that still the older generation that I knew when I first moved here to South Georgia, and it's true throughout the South, there are stories. I mean, even Jimmy Carter talked about he had black friends when he was growing up there in Plains, Georgia. And it wasn't about white or black. It was just about people, and if you were a bad person, nobody liked you. If you were a pretty decent person, okay. But the idea, though, that all of this is about Robert E. Lee and what he stood for. He stood for states' rights. Oh, Virginia, my Virginia, he would claim. And I think to myself, shame on you. I'm trying not to be upset because it's such an idiotic placation of nothing. Well, we took down the statue of Robert E. Lee because he was the general during the Civil War for the South. Well, they confiscated George Washington's house, mind you, that he gave to his daughter or granddaughter and to Robert E. Lee, which is Mount Vernon, which is where Arlington Cemetery is now. So they took Robert E. Lee's house, confiscated him, threw him and his wife out, gave him not a penny, simply because they lost the war. It took him like 15 years to ever get any kind of compensation out from then throwing him off his plantation, and had nothing to do with slaves now. But so they confiscated his farm, threw him off, wanted to charge him with treason, and along with all these other kinds of things. And this because he felt that he should fight for Virginia. And so the compensation he got was like piddly squat. So to really like throw a mud in your eye, they turned Robert E. Lee, and don't forget this, but it was George Washington's granddaughter also, not so it's tied into Washington. They turned it into a cemetery just because they could. You know what I mean? So I think Robert E. Lee's been shamed enough. His family and and his reputation, and the fact that they lost everything. There are still people who realized who he really was, because all of his men, again, on both sides, they all respected this man. He knew Grant in West Point, and Sherman and some of the other guys, but he fought for the South and it was because he had, his heart was in Virginia, and Virginia's heart just gave him up. Shame, 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 shame on you, Virginia. You should call your governor and say, oh, put it back, with an apology to not just the Virginians, but to those of us who, I was born in Ohio, in Cincinnati. Not far, one could say that anyway. There are more rednecks in South Ohio that are out here in South Georgia, just got to say. But flying the Stars and Bars, I drove through Southern Ohio and went, where'd all these Southerners come from? And, they call, soda pop, and, hey, you want a soda? You want, no. Yeah. And they say, you want a pop? Well, but, different things. And they don't know what grits are much, hominy or otherwise. But anyway, but so this idea, though, that removing a statue is going to somehow make it better. Is that really where we are now? And I mean, they've been removing statues. Well, and here, one there, blah, blah, blah. Now, I used to be a Democrat, and I'm sorry, but y'all are idiots. As a Democrat, I would stand up and go, hold on. You know, there are those down here in South Georgia who are really ticked off that every small town in South Georgia renamed one of their streets Martin Luther King Boulevard. And so they're like, why? He was never here. Why are we naming streets after this guy? So he was a civil rights thing. So, but they were mandated. Every little town down here had to rename one of their streets MLK Boulevard. Oh, but we don't want to. Then I don't care. But I thought it was stupid. That wait a minute, oh, well, we voted on it. Really? All the people that lived on the street, everybody had to change their address, all things. It screwed up a bunch of stuff just in these small towns around here. And I thought to myself, what? Now, are you going to do the same thing with Lee Street, which is in Thomasville? And I'm sure you look around, there's probably a Lee Street all over the place. But wait a minute now. But that because it's named Lee. Now, is it a Chinese Lee or is it Robert E. Lee? Oh, we might have to change them signs now. Well, wait a minute. So, somebody's got to draw the line and say, stop this. Now, nobody's standing there glorifying the fact that, especially if you really do the study, that Robert E. Lee didn't necessarily like the slavery thing, but they were property with Mount Vernon that came from George Washington to his granddaughter. Nobody looks into that. So, are you going to take down the Washington Monument? Think about it. Well, wait a minute, but didn't George Washington's granddaughter own the slaves technically? Because Robert E. married into the family. So wait a minute, it really wasn't his property. It was hers by her grandfather, General Washington, the first president. Oh, now we got to take down the Washington Monument that looks like a what? Anyway, how come there are no, where's George Washington riding on his horse? Or, there are paintings, but anyway. So, but this idea, years ago, they wanted to chisel off on Stone Mountain outside of Atlanta. They did this big mural. Now, back when I was a kid, we traveled through there and saw it as it was being chiseled out. It was really cool. Now, I thought it was sort of destruction of property there, but when it was done, I was like, well, at least it's sort of tasteful, and it's weathered in well. I've been to Stone Mountain several times since then, but they wanted to chisel it off. They wanted to go in there and go, no, we can't have that chisel, knock, knock. Why? Well, because it shows Robert E. Lee and the Southerners. Well, Atlanta, the state and the thing and the what? Oh, no. Please don't do that. But so how far are we going to go? And did it really help? Is it by taking Lee's statue out? Is that going to mend? Are black folks going to start going, yay, white people? So why don't we take down all the statues, all the World War statues, any kind of statues that relegate to anything? Take them all down because somebody's going to be offended. Okay. Well, these are the men that died in the Korean War. Well, I happen to be Korean American and I'm offended because these guys fought against my country it ain't Korean, but they fought against my country and I don't like them. So that's got to come down. Vietnam War veteran. Okay, well, I'm Vietnamese and I got a background and it pisses me off that you all killed my grandparents during the war. So I want that taken down. Where's it going to stop? Well, I don't know. I know that it seems to be part of this chaos. While there's chaos going on, let's get rid of another icon. Whether you like Lee or not, but as I studied about him, mainly because I might be related, I also was fascinated by the man and the fact that you'd always heard that the North respected him, but he's the enemy. Yeah, but they respected him. He fought off here and he did this and that. And the many reports of the Northern troops here in the The collective rebel yell sent chills down their spine when they attacked. And having lived down here in the South and have known that, I've been here in the South before in previous incarnations, that when you hear that and the guns go off, because I've been to some reenactments around here, one up around Andersonville where the prison was. And if you ever get a chance to go to the Andersonville prison and visit it, you should. 10,000 men in a small area. And when you see the area, man, anyway, bunch of stories there about that. But, people say, well, the South was starving them out. The South was starving. The people down in Andersonville, they're still a small community. And, they still grow little farms and stuff, and the railroad was knocked out. So they didn't have provisions. Provisions were being taken from them to go north to support the troops. So they didn't have anything to feed the prisoners. And for a time, they were just shuffling prisoners around. Even in Thomasville, there's a sign that says previous spot of prison war camp, when it was nothing more than some stakes in the ground and some guys were, packed in there. But the people who win the war are the ones who dictate what's being said. And I just think it's a crying shame, and shame on you, Virginia. Shame, shame, shame. One person who was so heartfelt that he fought until his death, really, for his Virginia, even after the war. But he was, discluded, pushed off, and spent years avoiding being tried for treason. So, when all he did was follow his states. So anyway, I love you all. I do. Delaney, mass retardation. One block or so, there's an old hotel covered in NASA tiles with fallout shelter. The man who owns it can't afford to restore it. His name is James Graff. Custer was raised up as a military program killer. Sad fact. Yeah. George did free some when we won the war. They still had the land and houses. Yeah, I understand. But hi, Delaney. Hope everything out there is going well with you. But my friends and fellow compatriots, there are some people, if there's a statue of Sherman, it should be torn down, because Sherman did more damage as far as just outright revenge and cruelness, and the men that went with him and the things they destroyed and the harm. They killed blacks and whites. They just it was a mess. But nobody talks about Sherman's walk to the ocean. But so we should tear down his stuff, Let's go find out who's got a statue of Sherman and pull that bitch down, But anyway, but down here in the South, people need to stand up, Democrat or not. Somebody needs to go up to that governor and point a finger and go, do you really know what you've done? You have just slapped the face of all Southerners and even Northerners, because Lincoln's first choice for general was Robert E. Lee. Okay, now I'm going to repeat myself a lot, and I don't want to do that. But that's my 10 cents worth. Regardless of whether or not I am related to Robert E., he got a crappy deal. He lost the war, and he lost his house. He lost everything he had, to defend the state that just removed his statue. Ain't that pretty crappy? That's what I believe. My friends, it's still drizzling and rain here in South Georgia. It's 10:52 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time here in South Georgia. I want to thank you all for tuning in. And, if you think this is stupid, tell somebody, but be kind about it. I don't want to get people all pissed off, but I'm pissed off because if it was, if it was a statue of Sherman down here and people in the town said, well, no, we like the statue of Sherman, And what is it from the governor to come in and go taking down the statue? Was it state property, public property? Anyway, who gave him the right to do it? Who said that, I'll take the statue, I bet you there are people out there who would gladly donate property to put that statue on. So raise your hands, I'd chip in $10 to have it moved to some place that somebody wanted it and it was private property and nobody could mess with it. Anyway, that's my 10 cents worth. So happy Sunday, what's left of it. And looks like it's going to be rainy weather down here in the south and moving north. So Bob, I want to say thank you. Even despite the rain and everything, it seems like the video has been pretty stable. So thank you, Bob. We all need to remember to thank the AI, speak to him and say, hi, Bob, we thank you so much for putting up with us. And we hope you keep things stable for us. Thank you, Bob. But let's end with a prayer that I always mean. And I was sitting here earlier today with the rain going, there's not much I can do outside. I was going to do this. Anyway, but we needed the rain. So I thought to myself, going down the list of people who come to this channel and listen and pay attention, Delaney and all y'all, okay? And I think how blessed I am to have people that will come and share. And I am humbled and gratified in a nice little warm, fuzzy kind of hug like I got from my grandson the other night. And I hope that that warm, fuzzy hug can go back out to you all. That we as the members of the League of Like-Minded Beings, we get these cosmic hugs. Because sometimes we can't reach out and touch one another, but we can accept and receive these hugs and the blessings. So I continue to pray each and every day that you will accept and receive the healing, the knowledge, the wisdom, and the blessings from the universe. I continue to pray that each and every one of you, your friends, your family, all of your relations, past, present, and to come, will learn to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the blessings from the universe. And as a rule of three, I continue to pray that each and every one of you will accept and receive the healings, the knowledge, and the blessings of the universe, and continue to share what you learned, the knowledge that you have. And even though you may have an opposed opinion, we can show our opinions without using the F word to everybody. Hey, Michelle, Jody, stuff like this happening to Spot of History even today. Yep. Just in the door. Hi, Michelle. How are you? Yeah. And Jody, hi, how are you as well? Yeah, some of these things, the chaos that's going on right now. And I'm thinking, the guy, if now there's some like weird evidence that maybe the guy didn't really die. Okay, let's just stop all that. If he did, if he didn't, oh well. But this stuff now, people in France are marching for some guy over here. No offense, but isn't that a little ridiculous? Somebody's calling somebody and going, hey, you got a group of guys over there? Now this Antifa, this other thing, whatever it is going on. I try to stay out of the politics and things. And I look and I say, well, I made a comment the other day, and just in passing, it was like, everybody wants to blame the Jews or Soros or the Nazis or it's the Germans. It's somebody else. But, and that was like last Friday as a passing comment. And now a few days later, and maybe almost a week later in some of this stuff, I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute. These people that are getting arrested are from different parts of the United States. Hey, Teresa, how are you? Hello in capitals. I love it. Cosmic hugs, everybody. But this idea of the riots and the things, the chaos, who's stirring up this chaos, And they're really stirring it up. It's really nasty. Now, this idea of moving the statue and all that kind of thing, is done during a time when there's chaos going on that apparently nobody's paying attention to, or does anybody, well, wait a minute, now I've been cooped up, and here's the governor who like, oh, we're going to pay back for, it's time for us to move into the future and get rid of these things that remind us of this. No, we need to be reminded, because they're making us slaves in other ways, but because they're going to take away anything that reminds us of our past. Now, if and Miss Delaney said, she goes, she doesn't have a problem with the statue being up. My issue more is that people are just he was from the South, take it down. Oh, he was from the South, take it down. Well, us down here in the South want to go, and if you're from the North, take it down. The South shall rise again. There's a lot of, well, anyway, Southern values have kind of crept in a lot of areas. But there's still a lot of Northerners. Guess where they moved to? The South. Oh, well, them Northerners, we call them snowbirds, they come down in the wintertime and fly back in the summer, or clog up Interstate 75. But anyway, but the idea, though, that right now, why are people buying into it? That, of all the things that I'm observing, I'm like, yeah, okay, they killed a guy, it's a this, all right, Black Lives Matter. Yeah, all lives matter, doesn't matter, okay? Does not matter what color, okay? Pick on a black guy, pick on a Mexican, pick on the Chinese, pick on white people. What about Native Americans who were almost snuffed out in this country? I'm part Native American. I have more, on the census, it asked what you were. Well, after I found out some of my heritage and how much Cherokee, Northern Cherokee I have in me, and some other stuff from Kentucky and Virginia, I realized that, wait a minute now, my grandmother, my grandmother, great-grandmother, and great-great-grandmother, all it was full-blood Cherokee, half-blood. So I got more Cherokee in me than I do any kind of white people, so it's like, wait a minute, so what are you? I put Native American, screw them, and it's like, but I traced back through my own family. And on the other side of the family had Cherokee and some of the, I can't think of the northern, there's Ohio and Kentucky area. But anyway, so yeah, I put down Native American. Screw them. Because I don't feel like I'm a white person. You know what I mean? And haven't for all my life. I've always been bucking the system. In the idea of living in a big city or high-rise apartments, not my thing, but and living on the land and so forth. It's always been my life. So even though I've worked in factories and in small towns, but anyway, my heart is in the South. And if it were such that, I don't know, the state of Georgia were fighting for itself, I would die and fight for Georgia. But, oh, wait a minute now, but Georgia, it was a slave state. Oh, and it did this. Oh, and it did that, and blah, blah, blah. There are a lot of people down here in the South that the white people were so poor, they sharecropped with the black families. They split it almost 50-50. The cost of the thing, the this and the that. They shared hogs when they cooked them and cut them and this and that. Listen, people don't know the real story about some of the stuff. But the chaos. Now, isn't it interesting? Why are they stirring it up now? I mean, they've always wanted to stir it up. Remember a few years ago in Missouri, there was a town south of St. Louis, I believe, and there was somebody that got shot or something. Remember that? And the whole city turned out, and they were gassing people and using stuff. And remember that? Is this sort of a repeat, but they learned from that one and decided to go nationwide? Think about it. Because now it's just, well, isn't it the same scenario several years later? But they were more prepared to not just do it in one or two towns, but to spread this sucker. And look how quick it went. You know, look how many people were showing up at places. People were emailing people to meet down in the park, and the police were trying to monitor it, going, well, now now they're all headed to the park, you know, and their police were, you know, that was listening to the police scanners that, you know, they're going to head them off at the pass so they don't make it to the park and be able to congregate and blah, 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 blah. Um, so who's doing what? Who's pulling strings? Now, there are those mindless idiots that are going, wonder what's going to happen. I ain't got nothing else to do. Let me trot down there to the demonstration. And then it turns out that now some of these things have been they're agitators though. And if you ever watch the old cowboy movies where there's 3 or 4 guys are like, come on, let's hang him. You know, let's hang him. The sheriff's like, no, the judge will be here tomorrow. No, we're going to hang him right now. We got the right. What's going on right now? This is a mob rule, but it's not everybody that's hollering. It's the few people who are the agitators. Watch an old cowboy movie, you know, about something like that. I mean, and Frankenstein, of course, now he did need to be took care of, but you know, he killed my daughter. So the whole, you know, village lit torches, Frankenstein. Yay, off they go to burn the monster. So somebody's created the monster that it's white people again. It's all our fault, you know. And when there were black entrepreneurs and business owners who were having their businesses burned down. So black lives must not matter to these folks because they're burning out black businesses too. Is this not ridiculous? Is this not stupid? Yes, it's dumb. And we need to say a prayer to the cosmos. Calm down, y'all. Stop this nonsense, please. It's not necessary. It's only making the situation worse because anytime there's violence or any kind of something like that in one of these protest marches, the news and the people always spin it to look how bad these folks are. So whatever you were doing gets knocked right off the perch right away because you're hollering, screaming, yelling, you know, when there were like 100,000 Chinese or something, I think it was, this has been back, maybe it was Japanese. It's been back a year or two ago. There was like 100,000 marched in the streets, just like a big giant snake, and they couldn't stop them, but they weren't chanting. They were just humming and praying and you know, and walking. No disturbance. Nobody tried to stop them. They were not, you know, but the people now, and who told these 100,000? I mean, it was a huge amount of people just that had got together and were just protesting whatever it was, but they were doing it silently. And, you know, it wasn't covered much because there was no violence. Nothing to see here. Only 100,000 people parading through the streets of Shanghai, you know, whatever, protesting the government. But we didn't see it on the news. It was on the back news kind of thing. So, you know, I've got a Korean channel that I'm subscribed to. I got Russian RT. I'm looking around the world at what's going on. I don't have my pulse on what everything is going on, but I don't just look at us or just Europe. You know what I mean? I try to look at, you know, there are things going on in Bangladesh. There are things going on in Africa. There are things going on down in Brazil and Argentina. There are things, you know, and people say, whoa, America and these folks over here. What about the rest of the planet? There are a whole lot of other people, you know, Brazil and Argentina. And Brazil is a huge place, you know, Venezuela, anyway, Colombia, where the Colombia comes from. Anyway. But the idea, though, that this chaos, we got to pray against it somehow, you know, just like, please don't do it. You know, we don't have to have a long drawn out prayer. We just need to, like, when we see it, we just wish real hard that it'll stop and that no harm comes to either side. We just wish, we hope, we pray that this will stop. And we tell our friends, you know, if you know somebody that's going to one of these things, ask them to either not go or be peaceful, or if they see something to, to leave or to not become involved in the rioting part of it, because it's just really silly nonsense. And it's going to give them crazy people on in both parties and in between fuel for this coming election to try to want to change some more stuff and blame it on who. Oh, it's all the T-Man's fault. We can't reelect him. Okay. But he ain't the one that's starting it. Somebody else is. And some of the Dems even are saying, well, I'll bail some of these people out. They're just demonstrators. No. Demonstrators don't riot. Demonstrators don't, I was watching somebody on a channel here on YouTube, and I was very disappointed in this reporter's reaction on the streets of New York City. Now, I'm not going to put it any more than that. But people were like, well, why are you filming me? He says, well, I have the right. You're standing out here on the street. I can videotape whatever I want. Why didn't his choice of words sucked? He could have said, I'm out here on the streets doing a live stream to show people what my neighborhood looks like right now. He didn't make any kind of mention of that. Well, I have the right to do it. That's your approach is wrong. You should state. She asked, why are you doing this? Because I can. I can do it. I can video. Nah. So he agitated the people on the streets by his actions when his original goal was to just see what's happening. He stirred the people up by his own reaction to the people and his interaction with these people, and he made the situation worse to the point where I had to turn him off, because I was like, man, you are not stating your case. You should just simply say, I'm a local journalist. I'm out front on the street in front of the building where I live here in whatever part of New York City, and these are the people. And ma'am, I'm just out here doing a live stream and talking about my neighborhood. And if you don't wish to be in the video, then move aside and I won't, But he wasn't like that. Well, you're on the streets and I can videotape you if I want. And it's like, that was an asshole point, statement to make. Well, wait a minute. And then she bowed up, and I would have too. Simply because he didn't present his case. Well, you're on the streets. I can film me if I want. No, not necessarily. Well, because of this or that. No. Why don't you say, hey, ma'am, I'm out here on the street. State what you're doing. State your purpose. Be honest. Instead of that, he took the position, I have the right to do what I want out here because I'm a New Yorker and I'm an American and you're being an asshole because of your behavior. He was stirring up. Man, he's kind of common on YouTube. I ain't going to go any further than that. But his behavior was not necessary to the reactions of the people there. And if he's a New Yorker, then he's used to fighting. Well, I can do this. I'm a New Yorker. Well, I'm a New Yorker. Well, we can do this because we're New Yorkers. Oh, okay. And instead of talking or explaining himself or whatever, his remarks and his actions caused reactions that were I couldn't watch anymore. I was like, sorry, guy, man. And I was trying to be on his side, but the more he spoke, the less I was on his side. I was more for that black lady on the streets there going, but you ain't, what's your purpose and why I got on her side much faster than I stayed on his, So, but people are just being idiotic. So to some of the things, if our tone of voice, well, what do you think about this? Well, you could say, well, I think it's fucked up. And then people go, well, that's his opinion. He think it's fucked up. And then you could say, well, I think these people who are protesting. I think some of them have a valid opinion, but the rest of them, I think, are very misguided, and they should stop the rioting. Now, that's calm. You state your point. And instead of just going, that's messed up, they all should be shot. No, don't shoot them in the chest. Biden says, shoot them in the leg instead. Well, why don't they use rubber bullets? They've got them. So why don't you get shot with a rubber bullet instead of a real one? If they're protecting the society by this, then why aren't they using rubber bullets? Seriously, why aren't they using rubber bullets? They got them. They can. They should. Why aren't some of these things, instead of them using nightsticks, which really hurt? Oh, they whip out this baton and start beating them in the legs and stuff. Why not just hit them with a taser real quick? That'll get their attention. No, they have to beat on them. Now, I really don't think that's right. I think that they're in crowd control. There are a lot of other ways you can control a crowd without beating on them, which pisses everybody off. Even the peaceable people want to jump in and bash a cop's head because you're beating on somebody over here, and it's not that you just hit them once and knock them down. Oh no, they're bam, bam. You've seen it. I've been in these things back in the late 60s, early 70s, some other protests and things. And I'm telling you, man, piss them off. You know, you don't go up to a cop and go, "You suck, pig." Yeah, it's your right to speak out, but so you're going to piss him off. And so that when it comes time, he's going to billy club you in the smacker and ain't going to think twice about it. Why? Because you provoked him. And, if you're going to be screaming at the other side, you pigs, you commie bastard, you blah, blah, you suck, blah, blah, and get in their face, I'm sorry, but you deserve to get smacked, because that's been your come on, hit me. Go ahead. Come on, hit me. Go ahead. I dare you. Hit me. Come on. I dare you. Smack. And then they get pissed off. Now, there are those incidents where people are minding their own business, because I was in a demonstration down in Tampa years ago, and they were just snatching people. That ain't right, okay? But some of this, they're people that they're snatching. The person that they snatched has been screaming, hollering, yelling, or pissing them off. We don't do that. We shouldn't do that. But they are. So, and I'm not saying that the cops have got the right to bash them in the head with a baton or in the legs or anything, because you can literally maim a person with the strikes that I've seen on legs and backs and heads. It really hurts. And the fact that they're deadly weapons. You can beat the crap out of somebody with one of those things, but they're allowed to carry them and use them on people as crowd control. I don't think that should be allowed. No. If you're going to do something, use a rubber bullet, use a rubber something, but these things are hard, no, they hurt. Well, we got to protect ourselves. No, you want to use them to beat the crap out of somebody and put them in submission. That is their job. Because I've been arrested and thrown down in ant beds and my face was held in an ant, fire ant bed. I've been there, done that. And these gung-ho guys, the other cops have to pull them off and go, "No, Dad, I think I've had enough here. He's not trying to resist. Oh, care, fucking hippie." Sorry about using the F word, but that's how it went. And it was the other, county mounties that pulled the GBI guys off of me down in the woods here in my backyard, because they were going to rough me up until the other guy got he got the fire ants on him. You should have seen him stripping. Anyway, a little bit of humor but I was handcuffed and had fire ants on me and couldn't get them off, Stand still. I can't. Anyway. So yeah, I've been there, done that, seen these things happen. But the thing is that the people who say, "Well, I can provoke them. I can say anything I want to." Well, then when you get beaten in the head, shut up. I'm sorry. Just, you don't have that right. You don't have the right to go up he's a policeman. He's supposed to be serving us. Yeah, but shouldn't you be respectful, whether he deserves it or not? But if you show disrespect, what are you going to get in return? Disrespect. Are you going to be honored if you say, hello, officer, good evening. I'm here to be part of the peaceful protest. I hope you have a good night. And smile at the guy and walk along and say, hi there, officer. How you doing? Having a good evening, and what? Who's this guy? And then the person behind you goes, fuck you, pig. So how we act and how we react so generally now that everything's stirred up, everything's going to look like a riot now. Even if it was only 10 people out of 100, 10% of the group is going to be mischief, and it's going to make the whole group look like crap. And there's going to be, if 10% is the instigators, that 10% will pull another 10% with it, maybe even 15. So now you got 25% of the group who didn't originally set out for that, but end up with it because they've caught up in the mob cycle of things. Come on, let's hang him, yeah, okay. He killed Jeb. But the idea, though, that we've got to keep a saner head about some of this stuff, and we need to post things in the positive. Look, guys, we agree. We agree that all lives should matter, not just black lives, mind you, because if that were true, you wouldn't be burning down black businesses. Just saying, and that's a fact. So y'all need to back that bus up and say we need to be honorable to all peoples, regardless of race. We need to be more honorable and in the way that the policemen literally attack us sometimes and hold us down because they have to subdue us. Okay. We have to subdue him. It's the big, what do they say? We got to take the prisoner down. What does that mean? Tackle, shoot, gun. Well, a guy was picked up for stealing he was drunk at the time. Somebody had left their sneakers out on top of, you go up the stairs to the upstairs apartment, right, left, the guy staggered to the right, should have went left, looked at the shoes in front of the mat and went, oh, there are my tennis shoes, and put them on and walked down the street. And the neighbor saw him do it, called the cops and arrested him for stealing sneakers. So he was in jail for 6 months because they were Nikes or some mess like that. And they wanted to get him for breaking and entering. It was ridiculous. So, and they punched the guy in the face, and he was 110 pounds soaking wet. This guy couldn't fight back to nothing, but they had to subdue him. So some of this stuff is, these cops really need to be retrained. But people need to stop having an attitude and pushing and triggering their buttons. Well, I have the right to say what I want. Well, then he has a right to smack you in the face, cop or not. You insult me enough times, and I'm already kind of pissed off and don't like you being here. And what's my reaction going to be? Smack. And I ain't even going to think twice about it. You're going to hit that trigger and boom, and that's going to be it. You might regret it later, but at the time you're going, man, I sure felt good. I just smack. And so I say we should all protest the protesters, because anybody that goes out now after the fact is looking for a riot. We should spread that news and tell folks, don't do it. From now on, anything from this point forward is a riot. I don't care how you're going to paper cut it, how you're going to paint it up or spray paint it, whatever the deal, it is not going to be a protest. It's going to end up, they're going to put it up. More riots in Umpty Scrunch City because people are out protesting. One guy could throw a bottle or a can or something, and it is now they have grounds to say it's a riot. We should not fall victim to that. And we should tell folks and explain to folks, we should have the right to gather peaceably and vent our frustrations. All that is true. But and it don't matter how many percent of the percent, if somebody in the group is making a mess and we don't take care of the instigators ourselves. Uh, like the guy that was the umbrella man, you seen that one? Going along and smashing out windows. There were enough people around him. They should have cornered that guy and called the cops. But they, of course, they were probably afraid of him. But to the point, though, they videotaped the guy and they followed him around the corner. Somebody should have took something and go, hey, Mister 911, I got this guy. Here's a picture of him. I'm going to follow him around the corner. Doesn't look like he has a gun, but we're going to court citizens arrest. They should have ganged that guy and brought him down and said, he's the guy that's starting the trouble. But we don't do that. We're going to videotape somebody killing another person or somebody doing the damage, but we're not going to step in. Okay. All right. But there are times when we need to step in because otherwise it's a riot. But if the rioters stop the riot, then it's a protest. But until we learn that, and these folks that are out here doing it now, it's all about the chaos. Now, do I want to blame George Soros or whatever? No, there may be some of that truth to that because of the theatrical people that have been proven to be being paid in certain states, or there'll be an ad in a newspaper for crisis actors and so forth. There's way too much information that part is true. Now, how much of it is being cajoled, swayed, or whatever by, quote, Soros is not, I don't think is necessarily the point. There are enough people out there who are just pissed off at the system and, and have been cooking for the last 3 months with this virus thing and all the truth coming out that maybe it wasn't so bad after all. And it actually peaked months ago. But I was at a store the other day here nearby and somebody said, hey, why are you still wearing the mask? And he goes, well, we had 3 people over at our church. It was a black man. I guess, he was over 65, so my age. And he was like, I'm wearing the mask because there 3 people died in our church from the virus. And I don't know if I got it or whatever, but, I don't want to pass it around. And we were all in the store going, really? Yeah, what church? Over here. So we all knew where the church was locally. So it's like, so you say, well, it ain't here in my neighborhood, but actually it was. And people actually did die. Now, some of them were already sick, and that's not the point, though. But the point of it is that we've had flus before. And I did a video about the 1918, 17 flu pandemic thingy. That there are scads and scores of dead folk in these older cemeteries around here. Literally 3-4 people dying in one family in a day. 3 brothers are buried in a cemetery up the road from me, and a lot of other people all around the same time, and we think, oh, this was bad, and we had so many. Yes, it was pretty bad. But it was 25% of the people died around here. 25% of the people, 3 sons in one family, in 2 in one day, and the older brother followed the next day. So it's like that was bad. Now, but there wasn't, most of the roads back then weren't even paved, they were just old dirt roads between these places. There's still a lot of dirt roads around here. But the idea, though, it wasn't like, people were going and traveling back and forth and meeting as many people. It wasn't like that at all. You know what I mean? So how these people got sick and the sickness and how it spread. Wow. So us old timers are going, yeah, okay, somebody got sick with the flu and we're sorry about that and sad that you passed. But it's not. So now that people are realizing it, they're going, well, wait a minute. I have been having trouble breathing lately because they'd say I have to wear the mask all the time at work. Well, who do you work with? My coworkers. So if it's only 10 people working together, why are y'all wearing masks? If nobody else is coming in and out of the building, why are y'all mandated to wear a mask? If if you're going to contact it, that mask between you, but if you're already cleared to be in the plant, then why are they forcing you to wear the mask? If you all have been cleared and none of you have temperatures, then you're virus free at the moment. So, but I talked to a lady the other day. She was like, I work part-time, but she said, we all have to wear a mask and none of us are sick. And she goes, none of us, go out and meet the public like a cashier or something. We all stay in the back, but they make us wear these masks because of this. And it was like, and it's hard to breathe, she said. And I'm like, there you go. But, now that this is over with, they're still making people be crazy with this. So the chaos continues. What can we do to stop it? We can act as normal human beings. Go bad behavior, good behavior. Nobody got caught. I mean, nobody rioted in this one. That was a good protest. 50 people showed up. They marched between a few streets and everything was fine. Thumbs up. There were 200 people that went over here and they started fires and overturned cars and bad behavior. So we praise the good behavior if we can find it. And we say nix to the bad behavior. And we're careful with what we do because we don't want to set off a fight. Well, these people have the right to do this. No, they don't. Well, actually they do, but is it honorable? Is it respectful? Is it actually going to get what they really want to accomplish out of this? Now, some of them do because they're there strictly for the purpose of, guess what? Creating chaos. So in that respect, that's what they want. The trolls are coming out of the woodwork, if you know what I mean. And, maybe the sun will come up and turn some of these trolls to stone, and get rid of this. But we react in a positive way by not being extremely negative. You say, I disagree with that. Instead of saying, these people are wrapped up in black, you don't go there. But tell folks, this is bad behavior, and we should tell folks to stop. We should just make we should make our comments known that we don't agree with their behavior and we wish they would stop. And don't say anything more. Don't. Because anything else would just give fuel to the fire. But we need to make our presence known and say, we disagree with this behavior and we absolutely wish you would stop. That's enough said. We don't need any more explanation, because what we mean is the rioting. We don't have to say it. The demonstrations have turned badly and or turned out wrong or whatever. But we don't have to go into detail about, because you're breaking windows and because you're doing that nah. We don't like your behavior. The protests have turned badly and we disagree with your behavior. Please stop. And that, somebody can try to argue with that. Well, we have the right to do it. You don't have to answer that, because you have the right to do anything you want to. You can say, well, my personal right is I don't like you. I can murder you. I'm going to take a gun, a sword, a knife. I'm going to take a 2x4. I don't like you. I'm going to murder you because I can. Well, unless I stop you, that's true. But is it morally right? Is it lawful? No, there's a lot of stuff in between. But there are a lot of people who stab each other, kill each other, it's a moral law that says no. It has nothing to do whether the law is there or not. It ain't going to stop them. So they feel I have the right to punch you in the face. I have the right to defend myself. I have the right to do this and that and the other thing. Okay, but is it morally right? Is it, is it really truly your right to do that? Or is it your opinion that you have the right to do that? Well, I can go out and slaughter all the buffalo and piss on it, back many years ago where they were over killing the gators down in Florida, and there were people right across the street from me who gator hunted, you know. And after Hurricane Donna back in the 60s, we woke up to an 8-foot gator in the front yard. Well, maybe 7 foot, and more like 7. But, you know, I had to go get the guy. And, so, you know, he went over, he said, "You stand in front, Dave." And he went up behind that gator and lifted him up so quick, it threw the gator's neck back like this, and it puts him to sleep. So, and he's rubbing the gator's stomach, and he carried the thing back to the swimming. It fell off the truck. He was coming home from the hurricane from gator hunting, and the gator slipped off the truck, you know, and came down the road and was in the front yard after the hurricane was over, you know. And Sam was like, "I wonder where the gator went to. Thanks, Dave, for, you know." Oh, me and my sister were, you know, real small. She didn't quit screaming for 20 minutes, you know. But anyway, this idea though of the chaos and everything, let's see what we can do just by speaking against it without getting our panties in a wad, and try to see if just by our behavior we can calm things down, because it ain't going to do any good to get pissed off at these folks. It's not. It's just going to fuel their anger even more. And we need to be kind in that. Lady Spitfire, Truth in Me, I see y'all coming up. Wade, how good to see you. So Teresa, let's see, Wade, Michelle, got that? I'm missing somebody. Gerald, how are you? Teresa, Wade, Jody, for all you good folks out there. So I know mostly you probably agree with me that this riots and stuff is just adding to the chaos, and that it's the wrong thing. So you know, but I in everything that comes up, how we react or overreact to something. Hey, Wade, I hope that you're doing well. I haven't seen you for a while, and it was good to see you show up here the other night. Blessings to all y'all. Thank you so much. I said earlier, I know a lot of you came on later on, but I said early on in this video that I so do appreciate each and every one of you. I am humbled that you come and hang out with me. I am humbled that you will even consider some of the stuff I discuss. And I am humbled by the fact that you all hang out and get to know each other in the chat room. And I'm just the whole mess. It was like, I thought maybe I'd be quiet tonight. And then I started reading about the statue, and I was like, no, I got to talk about this, because it, even though he may seriously, there's a 90% chance that Robert E. is my great grandfather. And that would mean that I'm also related to the George Washington by marriage in that respect. So, and, you know, does it get me a cup of coffee? No. But speaking of coffee, let's all say thank you to Bob. It's been fairly decent tonight. And there's coffee, a little bit of milk, and a dash of sugar. We've had 24 hours or more of rain here, and right at 3 inches of rain, give or take. One of the interesting things is, though, with this tropical storm that's come up through here, just to give us a small update and sort of like the weather thing, the rain came in, but there was no wind. It's just like it rained, and then it would slow down, and then it would rain a little harder, and then it would slow down. But there was very little wind. I'm looking at the top of the trees, and usually there's a little bit of this or the cloud. Couldn't even see the clouds moving. It was just rain. And I was like, you know, we got a few gusts here. About the time I started this video, about an hour ago-ish. Oh, wow, it's been over an hour. I love you, my friends. Thank you. And cosmic hugs all around. But I could hear the wind high up in the trees. So from a standpoint of a quote hurricane, tropical storm, all we've gotten is raining. We really needed it. We did. And we do have some flash flooding going on. The river's come up 3 feet. Actually, let me check. I got it on another window over here. Let me refresh it real quick. There's a really interesting, If you you can type in USGS current conditions water, and just type in USGS, and you can check anywhere in the United States. There are yeah, we've had a little over 3 inches of rain, and the current cubic feet, it was 92 cubic feet per second or per minute. Anyway, and now it's up to 448. It was less than 100 this morning, and we went from 3.5 feet to 6.5 feet, almost 7 feet in river rise, just in the Ochlockonee River here. So, but that's sort of common. And the little Ochlockonee in the backyard. So it wasn't like flooding rain, but it rained enough that it's starting to collect and show up in the river. So, but we really needed it. The river was down to almost below 3 feet. It was like 3.25 feet yesterday at this time. So anyway, but as far as the chaos, however our prayers should go, or however our thoughts, if we find ourselves becoming agitated, then that's sort of fuel for the chaos. And as much as we can, we need to try to keep our own chaos from feeding it. Now, it's hard not to be pissed off at some of this stuff, guys, gals. You know what I mean? So, but at the same time, I try to keep, let's see, I can't remember what it was. It was sort of a rule of thumb. It was sort of like a Saint Germain kind of something. It's all right to get angry, but that's human nature, but it's not all right to stay angry. And so if you're angry for more than 5 or 10 minutes, then you're abusing that privilege. You know what I mean? So it's like, but to not ever get angry is pathetic. So we have to vent ourselves, but how we vented, it was like, I had to do this video about R.E., Lee. No, please, no. He was so much more than just a general, and he was so much anyway. And how stupid are people to think that that's going to like make you look good? How many people, I mean, Miss Delaney was on earlier, and she was like, put it back up or leave it up. Well, she's not offended. And I know some other black folk that I don't know of, and they were like, well, Robert E. Lee, wasn't he a great general? Yeah. Well, what to take his statue down for? They don't know either, but some politician, because he wants to try to score brownie points, because election's coming. Shame, 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 So, but anyway, in the long and the short of this, though, there is chaos coming in from other directions, and people trying to use this to stir up other stuff. And we just need to realize that, I've seen some of this Joe Biden stuff, and I can't believe that he's like the forerunner. Give me Bernie Sanders any day than this clodhopper of Joe Biden. No, please. No, 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 no. Yet. I'd almost take Hillary over Joe Biden, but, holy crap, that's the best we can do? No. Please, I'd vote for Trump because I would hate to vote for Biden. And somebody says, well, won't you vote for an independent? Why? And lose my vote? No, I'm going to vote for the likeliest candidate. Now, I know that sounds stupid and silly, but it's coming up. In fact, Tuesday, we have a special election here, and I'm going to have to go down the road to go vote because I didn't want my vote to be cheated. In other words, they sent out things that I could, vote through the mail. I could vote early. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm going to go down the day of voting, and I'm going to vote then, because then I'm sure my vote is more likely to be recorded. And they've got new voting machines that are supposed to be better or something like that. Did I say hi, Lady Spitfire? Is Cajun Queen on live? Thank you, Michelle. All harm can never be wished upon life. Yeah, there you go. If y'all think change, wait, where? I can't find my glasses. Put them down somewhere. I can't read what I changed the something. These are my little old lady glasses. Wade says, if y'all think things are bad now, it's going to get worse. Never let a crisis go to waste. Yep. Um, Unfortunately, I agree. But here's the thing, we don't have to accept it. So if things come to us, you know, things are going to get a little wishy washy. There's going to be some more people. But the more of us who just go, I'm just not going to take part of this, it can't gain steam. Because for one thing, 5, 6, 7, 10 years ago, I'd have been one of them people screaming. And I'd have been one of those, look what they've done. They held this guy down and yada, 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 yada. But me screaming with all the other people adds agitation to the universe. I can look at it and go, shit, there it goes again. Them crazy mofos, why don't they stop doing this? Well, until there is a large cultural change with police and policing and batons and all this other kind of stuff, and how we take down a prisoner, that doesn't have a weapon or anything, it's this mentality we've got, but we're not going to solve it by hollering at them. They're not listening. And in my own life, I've talked about it before, but when you raise your voice and you speak to people and if you don't pay attention to me, then you're not listening. All they hear is the noise. They're not listening to your voice. But when you speak in a way that can be forceful and to the point without being screaming, hollering, then you can get your point across a whole lot better and more effective too. But I used to be one of them screamers and hollerers. Look back on some of my earlier videos. I was going to delete some of them, and I thought, no, because that proves I was in that same camp at one time, screaming and hollering, and these guys and these people, the stuff and the blah, blah, blah. And I'm kind of that way now, but folks, we have to look at other options, and we have to, well, wait a minute, I don't have to get mad at this, but I should keep an eye on it. I got to keep my eye on that mess. And I got to keep, especially if you live near one of these places where these folks want to be this, then your influences, you tell folks, hey, stay away from that. We need to let things calm down. Hadn't it gone a little too far? And you don't have to scream it out to people. But as we calmly speak this, we wish this to stop. Let's see what happens. What other choice do we have? But I am positive about this. If we scream and holler and get pissed off like the rest of them, even though we're trying to tell them to stop, it's just going to make it worse. So, word games are energies to the universe, and there are folks listening to us. They want to, the other side wants to see if they can get the loosh out of us, They want to see if they can get that chaos so we can give up that energy to these people who are starving right now because people were getting along too good. Well, the virus split everybody up, no human contact, don't touch nobody, wear a mask so nobody knows who anybody is. Now, we've all become Sharia law. Have you thought about that one? We've all become Sharia law. Even the men are wearing veils now. What? And identity, and holy crap. We could go down some rabbit holes with that, you know what I mean? But here's the bottom line. Let us keep ourselves out of their chaos. Keep an eye on it, folks. I say pray against it. When I do mean, let's pray against it, I don't agree with what them folks are doing. And I'm all I got is a shovel and a pitchfork for a weapon. But if they come on my land or get nearby, I'm gonna stab them or smack them one. Either way, I'm gonna slow them down. I might not be able to kill them right off, but if somebody's gonna try to get me into it, all I got is a shovel and a pitchfork. But I'll make do. So but I ain't gonna hurt nobody unless they need to. That's how the old folk talk around here. Ain't gonna hurt nobody unless they need to. You can talk a big game, and you start to do something funky. That's it. The law's done. And after you, never mind. Anyway, we don't need to go there, but I think sometimes these agitators and the information's out there. A lot of them ain't from around where the protests are going on or the riots. So stay home and allow those people if they want to. Now, if them people want to keep on up with it, we just need to make sure that if we see a policeman say, "Hey, look, I just want to tell you, I don't agree with the rioting. Just thought I'd let you know." I mean, I know some. Well, maybe not so much now, but I knew some sheriff's deputies, and I would say, I ain't for this stuff. So you let them know. So it's like, well, now I don't approve of them, behaving badly with a baton either. So, and I would state that. So, I've seen some of them guys get out their baton and beat the crap out of some of these guys. I just don't see where it's necessary. And I've had some deputy sheriffs say, yeah, they got a little carried away. And when you get in the moment, the person's struggling and you're trying to, gain control and everybody's energy goes split. Oh, it's craziness that happens. So with that said, though, let's all try to keep a level head. And Michelle and Lady Spitfire, is it bad that we choose to shut it all out, not even turn on the news ever? So I'm kind of oblivious. That's not a good approach, I'm sure. I had to wear a handkerchief because I didn't have a mask. I didn't wear a mask at all. But I did keep vinegar in the truck, so I washed my hands before I went in and when I came out. But I didn't wear a mask, and a lot of other people around here didn't either. We practiced, safe distance. Some people were like, got a mask on and they're all covered up and they got gloves on, and the rest of the people in the store are going, okay, but they could have been in the hospital and didn't want to pass it on to us. They could have been, but the thing is that there are people who are still doing it now. And, the reports are like way down. And so it's like, but there are still people panicked by it. Bob, let's all give a toast. Bob, I'm a little glitchy there, but. And some of the people who were panicked a couple of weeks ago are looking back and going, that really wasn't necessary on my part. I realized they panicked me. We had a conversation with some folks that stopped by to see me about a week ago now. But anyway, the idea was, when she came before to visit, she was all masked up with gloves and everything, and walking around. And she was like, now I realize how stupid that really was. And it was like, yeah, at least around here. Now, if I were going into town into a big place and there were hundreds or thousands of people around, I might wear protection or at least put a scarf on or something, right? But this idea that there's only 2 or 3 people and you're wearing this mask in your house alone, that's where we need to really, kind of like, what? So, but anyway, been an hour and a half, my friends. Teresa, no mask, no gas, no med help, no supplied. The whole CV was a test. Yep, I agree with you, Wade. I absolutely do, because they've been rehearsing this. Okay. I haven't worn any mask, just the handkerchief. Yep. Truth in me. Wade, I'm seeing more and more people here in BC that are very awake, yet others do not want to hear it. So we can not force people to wake up. Truth to me, that's absolutely right. Now, if y'all have heard of Albert Levermont Weber, he's up in BC, I think, truth in me. And he was saying that there were people going out and demonstrating the fact that, they think that this was BS. but nobody's covering it because nobody's getting in fights and stuff. But that they've been going out and congregating and sort of breaking the rule of, social distancing. So it's like, And so there are a lot of people out there. I mean, if you've seen some of the videos that have come across from China, the people over in China and places like that, they were, told to lock up in their apartments. They're hanging out the windows, cursing the politicians and screaming, and the whole planet is pissed off in that respect. So that's why there is this stress buildup. So here's an interesting point about this. So if you want to pressure cook something, what do? You put it and I mean pressure cook. You put the lid on and you tighten it, right? And put the little gizmo on top that goes and lets off the steam. And then what do? Then you turn up the heat. So first they put us in the pressure cooker, and then they clamp the lid down. Now they're turning up the heat, you know what I'm saying? So that they're actually built up steam with this, because everybody has felt this oppression by having to be locked down, et cetera, et cetera. Oh, well, our rights have been taken away. Well, this, that, the other thing, blah, blah, blah. Whatever the excuse. I just thought it was an interesting experiment in human behavior. And I agree with you on that. They've been waiting on this. They've been practicing this event, okay? Again, I say, all the masks that they had, they sold out, right? Now, I've talked about this before, but I'm going to bring it up again. And you think about this. Do you know how long it takes to get products in to start a product line? For example, the copper fit mask, okay? It takes 6 months to a year to even establish. We've got workers coming in. We're going to have the material. We're going to have the this. We're going to do the that. We're going to have this. We're going to be able to ship it, sign it, do commercials, and then be able to sell it to people. They did it in 3 months. 3 months' time. Now there are copper masks and all these other types of things available to us. How did they know? Because if you've been in, any kind of manufacturing, you just don't start up a company. And they're selling millions of these. So somewhere there's a plant or several, and they're working double time and overtime to produce these things. But they had to have the raw materials in place before. And if everybody was sick and everything shut down, where'd they get their supplies? Where'd they get the supplies for the mask? Where did they get the stuff? Where did they get their workers to do the work? Was it done in the Well, it's made in the USA. Okay. But that's not the point. Somebody somewhere had to have some advance notice, because you just don't do this kind of stuff overnight. Been there, done that. I have set up thousands of machines in plants. And you just it takes weeks, if not months. And that's if you got the material, and you got to set everything up, and everything has to be run through, and then you have to double check things. And then you got to, But the thing about the mask, think about it, in less than 3 months, mass producing millions of these masks. That's what got me to say, I don't know if anything else is true. But the fact that they got those things, commercials and this and all that takes production time. You just don't put something. It takes 2 or 3 weeks to shoot the video, to get the thing, to do that. These things are done, and they've been on the air for the last 3 or 4 weeks. Think about it. Just in the mask. Don't care about nothing else. Who did what and who started what? Just ask yourself, how did they get all them masks to start mass producing when everybody was at home? How come they can make millions of these things and sell them and blah, blah, blah? Where'd they get all that stuff? Question the obvious, Now, I'm still puzzled about the toilet paper. I was, once a day I got to use the John normally. And so I'm looking at the toilet paper and I'm thinking, there was a visitor here the other day, and I couldn't believe that, like, a third of the roll was like gone, and I had to get a new roll. And I was like, what? Because they use toilet paper and they wrap it around their hand 2 or 3 times. Well, back of the hand, front of the hand, I'm like, that was a week's worth of toilet paper for me. And they wiped twice just to make sure. And so I got this great big lump of toilet paper that now I got to try to get down into my septic tank. And I'm thinking to myself, no wonder y'all folks are out of toilet paper. So I was thinking to myself as a self, we should have a self-help class about how many sheets and what kind of toilet paper is best used and how to, and if you get a little dew on your hands, you can wash it off, but anyway, I digress. But I'm still kind of curious about the damn toilet paper. Like, why are we out? Anyway, what's odd though is I did a video early on before the big debacle with the paper thing, the paper toilet paper, and I was like, at least, and I regret saying it, but I was like, at least we got plenty of toilet paper, and we got paper products, because we don't have to import it, is what I was thinking. And then in less than a week, the toilet paper's gone, and I thought to myself, man, was I wrong about that toilet paper thing or paper products in general? And we do make them here in the United States. There are several towns around here that make, that are pulp mills, and a lot of the pine trees and scrap and stuff down here are used for pulp and paper. There are lots of paper mills around, for different types of, some are for cardboard and this and that, but to the point, and there are a lot of workers and jobs and things and support. So the fact that all of a sudden we don't have any toilet paper is like, what? Now it is big and bulky, and it costs a lot to travel because you can only stack so much in a semi, and it's not very heavy. So it's not like you're getting a lot of product because it's not dense. But anyway, but the idea though that we ran out of toilet paper, but suddenly have millions of these super masks at our disposal for $19.95 for 5 of these or 10 of these or whatever it was. And you can double your order if you pay a separate fee and processing charge. Well, duh. I mean, you can get another one. Well, of course. If I want to buy 20 of them, can't I? Oh my God. Anyway, don't get me started on the $19.95 ad for just a little bit more. Another $19.95. You can get a second one for free if you pay shipping and handling charges. Okay, fine. Never mind. But the fact that we ran out of toilet paper, but we have masks by the millions, doesn't that make you question? Because we know how hard it is and how long it takes to get things in production. I mean, if the toilet paper situation, where's the raw material coming? All of this backs up, and you got to get more paper to come in to make more, to get to the paper mill, to process more of this. And so, anyway, ShamWow, mask on TV. Yeah, that's sort of what I'm talking about, Wade. Paper mills stink. Yes, they do. Oh, the whole town stinks. Think if we invested in Purell and Charmin back in February and dropped the airline stocks. Yeah, we'd be millionaires, right? Lady Spitfire. Truth of me, it takes months and months and months to make them. It's a plan, and it's all done in China. Everything in Canada is from China. Walmart remotely stuff from China. I agree. But I also used to work for a company that had sister companies in Canada. And you'd be surprised. There's a lot of manufacturing that's kind of under the radar of most normal folk that Canada makes, because there are a lot of Russians who live in Canada, by the way, and a lot of other nationalities, and they're cheap labor in Canada. And they admit it. So some of our old machinery, when we were moving out of hand, every single step was done by hand. We were combining things so that instead of it taking 2 steps, to do something, we could do it in one step, and slash the time, slash the personnel who are probably had issues with their wrist, and because they couldn't work for more than 2 hours at a time because of the wrist thingy and the arms and all that. But anyway, but I was surprised, and I visited Canada several times in Toronto up there, and some delightfully nice folks up there. But I was surprised at how many Russians were there. I was like, no offense, but oh my God, you know. And those Russian women, I am from Russia and I am proud, but Canada, you know. I'm like, yeah, okay, but anyway, I had a good time with them Russian ladies. But where was I headed with that? Yeah. And so, but the thing is that these products and things, it takes time. You just don't just whip them up, you know. So if from idea to out the door and shipping, it requires a lot. So, but some of the things is like people can say, well, the virus was started on purpose, and somebody did this and that, and somebody something. And you can go, okay, but you can just bring up the point then, how did these people know to make these copper masks by the millions and get everybody to start wearing them? What? Well, didn't somebody have to know ahead of time? What do you mean? Well, describe what I just talked about. Your manufacturing process. So you say, well, I don't know, but doesn't it seem a little fishy to you that they were able to make all these new masks? Just boom, all of a sudden they've got all these new fancy designs to wrap under here and go around over there. Think about it, from design to this to production to sales. Somebody knew something. That's all you're going to say. Just leave it. Don't argue with them. Well, I don't think that's true. Wait a minute. You're gonna plant a seed in their brain. They're gonna go, huh? Well, wait a minute. I have been watching that commercial for the last 2 months, and the lockdown's only been for 3. How'd they know ahead of time to make all this stuff and sell it to us, and make these big time commercials? And think about it. That's all. Look at the obvious. Sometimes the answer is right there. You know what I mean? Jody, it's good to see all y'all out there. Turns out the government has a massive amount of hidden waiting to reintroduce toilet paper at 4 times the normal price. I wouldn't be surprised, but it's the shipping cost. They were going to TPR. I thought about that, Lady Spitfire. I was like, around graduation time and things, which they had very little of, and all cyber graduation and stuff. But, there used to be TPing of houses and things and stuff, and the coaches or somebody, and somebody would throw a roll of toilet. None of that, I guess, anymore, huh? Maybe they could recycle their toilet paper and then throw it. It would be called crap in a bag, right? Yeah, ShamWow mask. Okay, I got back up the list. Okay, everybody, it's been almost 2 hours. Thank you for hanging out with me. I need something to drink, and I've been trying to light the cigarette now for the last 2 hours, and I am going to smoke it when I'm done, but I'm not going to light it on here. So I started it like 30 minutes in or so, and then Michelle, shame on you, she come on here, and I decided to stay on and continue chatting, and thank you. Jody, Lady Spitfire, Wade, always good to see you. Teresa, as always. Truth in Me, thank you so much. Michelle, if you're still in the background hanging out, Truth in Me. Gerald, here, there you are. And Jody, I think I already got you. Okay, if I missed you, I'm sorry, but blessings. Teresa, I think, yeah. Oh, you're very welcome, folks. And thank you for letting me vent. And if you missed the first part of this about my 30-minute rant on Robert E. Lee, if you would just be so kind as to, kind of think about what more than what Robert E. Lee might have stood for. I know some of you didn't show up until I was done talking about that. But if you feel so inclined, go back and watch the first 30 minutes and convey that message to other people. that not just, anyway, I'll sum it up real quick. Robert E. Lee did a lot more than was just the general for the South. He was first a Virginian, and he fought for my Virginia. And he said when Lincoln asked him to be the general for the North, he said, "No, sir, I must fight for my Virginia." And then Virginia turned around and took his statue and moved it or took it down or whatever. So, but to the same point, General Sherman, who did the rampage through Georgia and burned his way to the sea, he was applauded for what he did, not by the Southerners. So, let's talk about Sherman. They named a tank after him. And because he could bulldoze his way through anything. Oh, but we're gonna take Robert E. Lee's statue of him and his horse, which his horse was famous, and call it in the name of heaven. We can justify it in the end. You won't hear any trumpets blowing on the judgment day, on the bloody morning after. One tin soldier rides away. Listen, people, to a story that was written long ago about the people on the mountain and the valley people far below. Remember that song? Listen, children, to a story that was written long ago about a kingdom on a mountain and the valley folk below. Anyway, but to that, it's like, so we fight and everything, and beneath the stone, it was said, peace on earth was all it said. And so we fight for things, and we say that we're fighting for a cause. And it's like somebody made a statement about, they don't believe what Dante says, or they don't believe all that he says or whatever. And I don't know about some things that he says either. And I just say, well, that's an interesting point of view. But there are some things that I've learned that I know myself that he has said that this is so true to heart. I have to believe at least that part of it. But the other side of the coin is that talking about the cause, and you've heard me talk about the cause before. I'm working for the cause of good. And somebody wrote in a comment that said that, well, if it was going to be like that, they'd have to switch sides. And I mean, wait, hang on, wait, switching sides to me in the area of what the cause for humanity is, I want all human beings to get along and do no harm. That's my thing. Let's try not to do any harm if possible to anything. And it's difficult to do. But we do our best to try to, to be that, And but for somebody to say, well, I don't know, this guy, I don't agree with him. So if he's with it, then I would have to be against the cause. You're against the cause for humanity? You're against the cause of, now I appreciate your point of view of not believing what a person might say or his point of view. But regardless of that, the idea of working for the cause for humanity, if you tell me you're going to work for the other side, that means you're going to work for the evil and you're going to work for the chaos. You're going to work for the bad guys who want to destroy the rest of us. Bob, we love you now. I'm getting a little shimmer shake. See, I'm talking about a subject that. But to the point, though, my cause is simple. Humanity. Quit fighting. Let's talk about it. We can change. We can discuss it. We don't have to agree on everything. We can agree to disagree and not fight about it. Let's start there, But my friends, thank you so much for your input and your output. And whoever wrote that, if they watch this video, I'm not trying to pick on you. I could write it in the comment section and really kind of make it obvious. But the idea, though, that if you're working for the cause for humanity and for higher beings and for peace, and, if you're going to work for the other side, I pray you don't do it. And I pray you change your mind. And I pray you understand what it means to work for the cause for humanity. And that just, I guess, humankind, alien kind, being kind. We should, any being in the universe that ain't trying to shoot at me or kill me, I should try to be friends and at least cordial, like, hi, how you doing? I don't have to go up and, French kiss a cop to say, I love you, man. No, I can say, good job, my brother. And thank you for being a peace officer. So there are varying degrees of intimacy. So we can agree to do something and we can just bow and say, thank you very much. And somebody said, well, I'm not bowing to anybody. What? If we bow to each other in reverence, that's a high form of respect and honor. Well, I'm not bound to no damn body. I didn't say get down and kneel and like do the Allah thing. But if I come up to somebody in recognition, the Chinese, well, I think more the Japanese maybe, but in certain cultures, to bow is to recognition of honor to another person. So we're not bowing to their whims or that, oh, come on, get over some of this stuff, but they'll go to church and worship. Yeah, there you go. Okay, friends and neighbors, thank you so much. Let me, y'all been writing stuff when I let it go by. I carry a pretty good note. Thank you, Gerald. My granddad was named Robert Lee Reed. Yeah, Lee was a Southern hero, but he was a hero even though he worked for the other side. He was well respected by the North. Lady Spitfire, don't you live in Georgia? Yeah, we got to make sure that things never happen again, says Gerald. Thank you, Michelle. Lady Maryland, Virginia, and Florida. You've lived nowhere but Georgia. Well, okay, yeah. One of these days, I'm going to come north. I'm going to get in touch with you, Lady Spitfire, and we're going to do coffee. I want you to show me one of those places or whatever up there you were talking about with the rocks and stuff. I'm due to get out of here, and hey, while I got you here, Lady Spitfire, if I bring a dog, is that okay? I can't leave Duggar now. So anytime I got to go somewhere and go visit, I'm going to have to bring Duggar along. But he's a good dog. He's a good dog. But wait, now I got to read what you said. The rocks that were leaking, yes. Sure. Okay. Yeah. Don't have to stay with you, but going to bring the dog. He's going to have to come with. All right, my friends. Thank you so much after almost 2 hours. I honestly do love you and thank you for your comments and your time and sharing your energy. Jody says, to be honest, I gave a slight lean forward to show respect, eyes closed, felt right to do so. I used to do that spot in my teens. Don't leave Duggar. No, I wouldn't leave Duggar. No, he'd be coming with. Absolutely. You'll fall in love with him. He's a great dog. He really is. They try to slobber on you a little bit, but ain't nothing wrong when a little dog slobber on you once in a while. And the old timers always said, if you got cut or something, let a dog lick it. And they were like, what? Yeah, let a dog lick it because the dog's saliva's got stuff in it. It's like, yeah, okay. But anyway, so my friends, thank you so much. Praise and blessings to all of you, and may tomorrow be that may every tomorrow be a better tomorrow. And remember also that it doesn't matter how large the steps are, as long as you're moving and leaning forward and leaning in the direction you know to be true. And there are times, that we go along the way and we see something, follow something, and then later on we might find out that it was false or maybe not 100% true. We need to just say, well, okay, I've learned some lessons and I'll keep my heart open to the universe because I'll see we will see something, digest it, think about it, and 2 weeks later, if we go back to that same subject, we may have our opinions changed. So remember that ahead of time. So as you're forming your opinion today, remember in a week, I'm going to rethink about this. I'm going to get some more information in, and then I'm going to sit down and just kind of not go nuts over it, but I'm going to reconsider it just to go, wonder how that turned out. There you go. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Y'all keep writing stuff. I have to keep putting on my glass. Yeah, one side broke off. I got to go to the dollar store and get some more. Yeah, thank you, Gerald. It is always fun. Good to be here with y'all. Thank you, Teresa, Gerald, Jody, Lady Spitfire. The coin show I watch as an UGA dog. His name is Sherman. That's an oxymoron. Yeah, there you go. Go dogs. UGA. Forgot the breed. They're a type of English bulldog, actually. But yeah, Lady Spitfire. Yeah, go dogs, All right. But living down here near Tallahassee, you better go Knowles once in a while, too. We live in Knoll country, Seminole. But anyway, love to you all. Thank you so much. Have a great tomorrow and the rest of the week. So as the law of three and continued prayers to everybody. Thank you, Bob, for straightening out that little stuff. I know it's been rough tonight, but I will continue to pray that each and every one of you will accept and receive the healing, the knowledge, the wisdom, and the blessings from the universe. I continue to pray each and every day that each and every one of you, your friends, your family, and all of your relations and relatives will learn to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, and the wisdom from the universe. Ween! Thank you, Bob. And as the law of three, I continue to pray each and every day that you will continue to accept, receive, and share the blessings that you receive and the knowledge and the wisdom from the universe. Keep sharing, my friends. Thank you for hanging out. Blessings to all of you. Wade, Lady Spitfire, Gerald, Teresa, Michelle, and all y'all, Jody and everybody. And I'll go back down. If I keep doing that, then I won't ever shut up. So I love you all. Thank you so much. And until next time, keep it between the ditches. And if there's high water in your area, be careful with water. Water will tear things up in a heartbeat. So be careful, okay? So until next time, TTFN, ta-ta for now from South Georgia. Cheers, everybody. I love you. Until next time.